Hello there. I know I've done a video of this particular machine. I just sort of do a quick talk through really and show you what's been done to the machine very quickly without going overboard. But I'll maybe start from the bottom at the front and work my way down, and you'll see probably what's had to be done. It's not the most perfect of restorations, but it's far better than what it was before, and it's sort of presentable now rather than sort of a total wreck, which was about to collapse as well. So here we go. First of all, the top piece of wood here had to be completely replaced. It would snapped in the middle. Something had been dropped solidly on top of that and cracked the whole piece of wood, and it bowed in as well. It basically had completely had it. So the only thing I saved was the rubber strip off the original piece of wood, but otherwise it's all been replaced and clean. A new piece of wood found, or replacement wood I should say. In this case, this bit of wood here actually came off the very back of the machine, down here. It wasn't exactly obviously the right size. It was a bit, but that's a bigger piece of wood. So there was just enough of the wood at the back to make a good piece up the top here. The rest of it was completely rotten at the back. So that was one of the jobs we had to do. Another job obviously was to this was all rusty and bubbling and flaking, so it was given a quick sand down and respray. Really, it needed to come out and be powder coated, but there wasn't really time for that. So with the cab in hand, it was the cab itself took a long time to do. So but anyway, the glass fibre bottom glass frame, that's been T-cut and polished. It's come up quite well. A little bit of signs of sort of heat on the glass fibre itself there. Nothing I can do about that except it needs to be sanded down professionally and resprayed, which really isn't really needed at this stage. So it hasn't been done. But it looks quite pretty. It looks pretty good anyway, and as you can see, it does look very presentable. So I'm quite pleased with the outcome anyway. And so there you go. The sides weren't too bad. The wood at the top here isn't too bad. It hasn't expanded too badly. But as we go down on the sides, you'll see that the problems are there to be seen. That the wood's really expanded down here, and it's actually worse on the other side, which I'll show you in a minute. But so it's really best to making the most of a bad job, really. What's already happened, tidying it all up. The pay tray was resprayed. This has been cleaned up and revarnished. Believe it or not, it sort of it did actually do quite a nice sort of colour really in the end, because I had this varnish and I thought I'd give it a go. It wasn't particularly nice in there, so it's come out quite well. As you can see, it's quite a reflection of that. It's all been cleaned up. This next section here had to be dealt with because it was damaged, quite badly damaged. So we got another piece of wood. Well, actually no, we used the original piece of wood, but we had to push it right back in. It come right out for some reason. And in order to do that, we had to put some screws all the way along, and all I've done is put some screw covers on them to try and finish the job a little bit better. Meter deck, that was completely rusty, really quite nasty, so that was cleaned up and resprayed, and it's come out quite well. Going to the bottom here, I've put a brand new lock on the inner door, which you don't usually see these days, so they usually sort of took them off and left them off for ease, but I put this one back on as it would have been, so that's quite nice. Two new cash boxes were put in. These were there's a few tenants in there. These weren't here before, so I managed to sort of try and source a couple and put them back in. Found a new hinge as well. That was completely that had gone rotten, so that needed replacing as well. The only bit at the bottom here that was original is the wood there. There's another lower bit of wood which I'll show you in a second. Everything below this level was completely rotten, had to be replaced. It was quite bad really. It's probably one of the worst I've seen. So anyway, we'll put that back up. And what we've done here, this basically front door and this panel here is brand new, brand spanking new. Sourced some much better chipboard with vinyl on, which was also the right sort of depth, width as well, because it hadn't expanded. It was quite in good condition, so it was decided to use this wood. And where I can, I was trying to source the original sort of colour of the vinyl, which is very difficult. I haven't quite got enough to sort of do everything, so this actual piece here it's a piece of black coloured vinyl chipboard, and we used a roll of sticky backed vinyl, which was a similar colour to the original, slightly lighter as you can see, but not far off really. So we used that as a bit of a sort of base really, and it looks a lot better. The hinge was sourced from another cabinet, an old cabinet, which was in quite a bad way as well, so we had to really free that up as well. It was quite rusty, and it seized partly, so it took a bit of persuading, but now it actually does work very well, and it's far better than the other one. The other one completely corroded. How the front door, this door, was actually being held on to, I don't know, because the hinge was that bad. It was literally being held on by a few screws, but otherwise it had rusted away. I think this was from another part of the another cabinet from somewhere, and I think it was from the side, one of the side panels of another cabinet, an old piece I've got. Managed to cut it and fill the holes and try and these are dowel holes you can see here. So they've been sort of covered, and the whole thing being cleaned up quite a bit. Obviously new lock put on there as well, and as you can see, not too bad really. The overall effect's quite nice. New kick step had to be made there, new rubber put on, and also new strip base, new strips onto the base as well, and wheels put onto those. But the base is more or less as it used to be, obviously, except for the fact that obviously we built it up with the wheels, and it's all brand new wood, as I say. So it was quite a job, but we managed it in the end. It's quite good to see it sort of come out as well as it has really. All down here was completely rotten really, so it's been filled and reshaped and moulded, and then because it was in such a bad way, there's not a lot you can do really, except put another piece of the strip of the as you can see the lines there, but put a strip of vinyl, sticky back vinyl on there again, and to try and blend it even further with the original colour, I've sprayed it with I'll find the can here it is, wood varnish, but it's also the dark oak colour, which isn't strictly speaking correct. It should be walnut, but I couldn't get the walnut, so we tried the dark oak and it turned out to be quite good. As you can see from this here, that's quite acceptable really, and it sort of really tidies it up quite nicely, considering there wasn't a lot else we could do with it because that many holes and bits missing off it. So you know, it's all come on pretty well, so quite pleased with that. I shall just try and do this door up so I can sort of swing around the back, and I'll show you the rest. Just bear with me. Right, hopefully. There we go. Right. The back door was intact, luckily, and but however, as per usual, these air grills on these JPM cabs always go rusty. They're originally chromed, but we sprayed this one with a chrome coloured spray, which isn't strictly speaking chrome, but it's come out quite nicely. And the hinges as well, they're all cleaned up, they're completely rusty, and it looks like actually the end effect is quite nice. these strips come off the back door, the bump strips for the door. Cleaned up, sanded down and resprayed. This back panel here, as mentioned earlier, is brand new as well. Put a piece of vinyl, sticky back vinyl on top of this as well, because the wood I didn't have a big enough piece of wood in this colour, so I had to find another piece of vinyl wood similar to that and cover it with again the sticky back vinyl, which isn't bad. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough widthways to go down, so I had to do it across. But because it's the back of the machine, you're not always looking at it, so in the end I decided, well, you know, you're not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter too much as long as it looks quite neat and tidy. So so that was the outcome in the end. As you can see there, done the other side as well. It wasn't quite as bad. Down the bottom here, the holes were quite good, but being as we actually made a brand new base for this machine, we decided to put 2 bolt holes into the base each side rather than the original, which only had 1. JPM only ever did 1 bolt into each side of their bases for some reason. Barcrest did 2, so we decided to do 2, and we think it's a lot sturdier now, so it works should be a lot better than what it was. So